Ah, spring, spring, spring. I'm very excited about it and thinking a lot about what we can do to renovate our beings in order to come out into spring feeling really revived and refreshed and ready. So, we're actually going to start off seated today and do a little breath work and spinal movement. That combination of spine enlivenment and freedom with breath work is one of the most rapid ways we can change how we feel. But not just in a surface like how do I feel, but the deeper nervous system intelligence that says I am well, I am safe, I'm whole, all of those mantras that are what we want to be living in. So please make sure that you're seated upright, comfortably. If your knees are high, make sure to place something up under the butt so that the spine easily is upright. And then when you're ready, join me in closing your eyes, turning your gaze up and in towards that third eye, center of the forehead. Just this eye positioning itself actually shifts the brain into more introversion. So as we do this, we can even intend that we are creating a boundary to the rest of the world out there, whoever and whatever has wanted our attention. And we're coming into this most precious world of our body and being so that we can attend to it, get to know it, and give it what it needs most. I'm going to invite you to come into 3 sighing breaths, gathering a long inhale through the nose, asking, is there more? Is there more? And then letting it go through the mouth. It might be a soft whoosh. Sometimes it comes out as a and it's all good. The sighing breath actually tells the amygdala, the alarm center of the brain, again, I am well, I am safe, nothing to worry about, manage, solve. And so as you're sighing, just notice, if you will, any effect on the body, on your mood. When it's complete, take the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth, right behind the front teeth, and let the rest of the tongue be soft and heavy towards the base of the throat. Come into your Ujjayi, great sounding breath. As you contract the throat a little bit, you'll hear that kind of whooshing sound in the mind. I think of it, in fact, as a white noise for the brain, kind of a decluttering and sweeping clean. If there's anything particular that's feeling cluttery and messy and kind of harassing you, I would picture that wind of your breath sweeping literally the surface of the brain, clean and clear. And then as you're ready, we're going to come into some spinal movements. And you don't have to match them with the breath. I often enjoy doing so. But we're going to go counterclockwise first with our spine. So you would go forward, to the left, back, and to the right. And then as you're making that circle, you would inhale in the forward half and exhale in the back half. But again, you don't have to marry the breath and movement here, as long as the breath is deep. I want you to see if you can really feel breath way deep down into the lower lobes of the lungs, not just up here in the chest space. In the lower lobes of the lungs, we actually have specific receptors that speak to the parasympathetic nervous system. That's our rest and digest part of our nervous system. And that's what we want to activate with our breath. If you have a hard time focusing on the breath, you might try asking, is there more? And that often for me anchors my attention, my curiosity, to stay present with the breath. We're going to do just a few more this direction. And again, you can slow or speed but notice what's going on in the spine, some of the stretches that you're being given. And the next time you are inhaling, arriving forward, pause. Is there more? Exhaling, go clockwise. So to the right and back and to the left and forward. You don't even, of course, have to do these directional movements or in this order. But I like doing counterclockwise first because we think of that as an unwinding of patterns, ideas, and habits. And then the clockwise as more of a building sequence. So intention setting and putting in place any patterns that you feel would be healthy for you at this time. So you can be holding some of those thoughts as we go clockwise here. What are you seeking or intending? Is your spine feeling different as we go this direction? Are you noticing any different stretches? Is your breath getting deeper progressively as we go? I hope so. This is why I like to say that, no matter how you're feeling, come to the mat because it will change. Once you do this much breath with awareness, you cannot stay the same. Just a last few this direction. And the next time you are forward, pause and hold a couple of deep breaths here. So always giving as much movement as needed to receive the breath, right? We're never frozen in a position. The breath is boss. And exhaling, come into your cat back, essentially, seated version. Again, give the breath room, undulate with it. And then on an inhale, root and rise from your sits bones to your crown. And we root and rise a lot during our practice, and especially in our flow as we are today. So make sure you know how that feels in your spine, that even seated, we want to find that sense of upright through kind of the back of the center of the top of the head. So I don't want to come from too far forward or I'll lift my head. You should feel that your neck is easeful there. Plant your right hand, inhale, reach up through the left. And allow yourself to move to the right, enjoying that side body stretch. And on an inhale, come back up and reach the right arm up. And exhaling over to your left. Remember, you can have your eyes open in a soft drishti gaze or closed, whenever you'd like during the practice. Inhaling up, left arm, exhaling to the right, and this time rotate your chest a little towards the floor. And as we release this time, we'll release downward with the arm and just come gently up with the spine. Good. Inhale, reaching up through the right arm, exhaling towards your left, keeping that right hip rooted, and rotating the chest towards the floor. Allow breath to move you. And just release that arm downward as you inhale on up. We're going to remove the object of support. If you've got one, you can keep it handy for any later seated or reclined stuff where we use it as a support. We're going to come down onto our back body. And as you do, take a moment and just start kind of moving organically. So wiggle your legs around, wiggle your arms around, let your feet go wide. You can even do what I call kind of a thwacking, where you're pounding your thighs up and down, kind of just letting some nice massage happen there in our lower leg, which can get so congested. And then become still. You might actually feel a little buzzy after that. And we're going to come right into compression and expansion, which is something I invented, but it's one of the best ways I know to train ourselves to get that deepest breath possible. So as you're ready, on your exhale, firmly engage the belly towards the spine towards the floor so firmly that your pelvis tilts up, and keep squeezing down, emptying breath out. Empty, 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 until there's nothing. Inhale, soften, allow yourself to be breathed. Is there more? And continuing. So as you do this, refine the practice. See if you can get more abdominal muscles involved. Even the muscles around the ribs can squeeze in and down. Those low abdominal muscles right above the pubic bone. Add the pelvic floor. And while you're doing that, practice staying soft in the neck. Invitation on your next exhale to turn it into rock pose. So now you're tightening all the parts of the body that you can talk to except the neck. Hands into fists, shoulder heads anchor, arms squeeze the body, butt cheeks, thighs, you might flex or point the feet, curl them, and of course softening on the inhale. Maybe you want to reach and stretch arms overhead, roll ankles and wrists, and then exhale, return to your rock pose. So this is to your breath timing, and the breath is boss. We're most interested in getting that full exchange of breath. I'm hoping you even find on that deeper inhale some new places being stretched, massaged. As we do about 3 more of these, please give special attention and notice if your abdomen is not moving, if it's staying fairly flat and steady. This means you're really not breathing into the lower lobes of the lungs. So if you're having that challenge, place your hands on your abdomen and intentionally on your exhale, or your inhale, push the belly into the hands with your breath. Picture that you're sending breath way down into the pelvic bowl there. And you should feel after the belly expands and the lower lobes fill that breath rises up into the chest. And this is basically like 3-part breath, which we're going to do at the end of our practice. But this is kind of a full sweep movement that gets us into our whole breath capacity, I hope. Let's do one last one. And relax. Notice how you feel. Planting the feet for your bridge pose. Anchoring at least the upper arm. You can also use the whole arm. Inhale, slow, deep, and wide. Think about that belly expansion. Exhale, press up to your bridge pose. Now, you can hold at your upper edge of bridge. You can also just release a little and re-engage, or come all the way down and then back up. Either way, I'm going to ask you to see if you can ignite a few more of those deep belly inhales. See if at the very end of those inhales you can feel it up into the outer ribs and the upper chest area. Last one. Big greedy in-breath. Exhale, slowly, slowly on down. Let's bring knees to belly. All right. We're going to come onto our hands and knees. So if you like spinal rocking, you can go to cross-legged and then kind of roll forward. Table pose, intelligent hands, and as you inhale your heart forward away from the tailbone, see if you can get the full breath, and the last of it provides a wonderful stretch up into the clavicle. Is there more? Exhaling, cat back, tuck the tailbone. Is there more? So as you continue now and in the rest of our practice, the more you can use these breath tools in all of our postures, the better. When we go into any kind of flow, is the first place that people tend to forget about their breath. So I'll keep reminding you. On your next exhale, as you're ready, curl those toes under and let your cat back take you to your first downward facing dog. Bent knees and explore, finding core support, sending those hips high, and then pedaling one heel towards the floor at a time. What's in your back leg, your Achilles, your calves, your hams? Oh, it feels so good. Breathing here, even upside down. We want that deep belly breath if we can get it. All right, and we're going to come to our belly. If you're feeling warmed up and you want to come right to a plank to Chaturanga, you could do that. You could also do a knee down version or just flop on down. All right, we're going to plant our hands for Cobra, but take that brief moment with the hands hovering to anchor shoulder heads and elbows. Then plant the hands, anchor the pelvis, and we're going to pump in and out. Inhale, draw the heart forward. Exhale, return. So you might be only coming up a few inches. You might be pressing a little with the hands to deepen, but remember the heart's drawing forward. You're not pressing back. Very important. We always want to be elongating, decompressing our beautiful spine. One more. And we're going to press back to downward facing dog. You can go via the knees, and you can always just go directly back for a little more effort. Steady the gaze between the feet, and please join me in 3 sighing breaths. Deep inhale through the nose unless you're stuffy, and exhaling through the mouth. Again, let your inhale again move you, bob you like an object on the waves. Last one. Is there more? Is there more? And then slowly walk those hands back to the feet. Hopefully you're already feeling some good arm work and livening here. On your inhale, root and rise. Drop that butt first and then come on up. And prayer hands. Pause here in our first standing pose, Tadasana, mountain pose. So I'd like you to think again about that sense of rising upright through the back of the skull and getting elongated without craning through the neck, feeling really soft in the neck. Nice. We're going to step sideways on our mat, nice big straddle. Keep that root and rise. Take those arms out. We call this 5-pointed star. You could have the palms rotating up if you'd like. It's a really nice little extra stretch. And I'm going to ask you to hold here for 3 breaths. Imagine that you're reaching out through the middle fingers. So I'm not just resisting gravity to be up. I'm extending from the heart. Beautiful. And then just let those hands come down to the hips. Turn your right foot 90 and begin pressing, pulsing into your warrior 2 lunge. Excuse me. And then pause where you think your edge is and just observe for a moment. We're going to be doing more of this pose in flow. And I want to make sure that we're doing it with a wonderful intelligence. Thighs externally rotating. Really pressing with this thigh to anchor that back foot. And for one moment, I want you to imagine that you're wearing socks and that you're on a marble floor. So you need to engage inward as well as root and push. I hope you feel that strength. Let's try the other side. Always check that that front knee's tracking and rides right over the heel. Again, noticing, observing. We never want to go below 90, but anywhere to 90 is great, as long as your knees are happy. And come on back to center. Good, we're gonna fold into our straddle here. Let your head hang. You might give it a little yes shake, a little no shake. And then we're gonna go side to side. So if being with your hands on the floor is too much, bring them up to thighs. Otherwise, start to come again into that feeling that I asked you to have in World War II, Warrior II. I told you my second vaccine shot made me a little goofy in the head. Yeah, so pressing with that foot, like you really mean to root. You're not just kind of going side to side. And then add a reach across. And you can, again, match breath with your movement. You can do a little speed up, can feel kind of fun. It's a nice time to kind of expel any stored stuff, tension that you might have from your day. You can also go nice and slow. Last few breaths. And then come back to center. If you're forward folded, come on up. And prayer hands, resolve, and pause. We're going to step to the front of the mat into Tadasana. Again, find that sense of ignition through the inner thighs as if you're holding an imaginary block there. Slow and steady breath. Inhale, sweep up. Exhaling, prayer hands, standing crane. Lift the left knee. One full breath. Soft mouth like you're holding a delicate flower on your tongue. On an exhale, stepping back, crescent lunge. Ball of the back foot. Steer those hip bones. Inhale, your version here. Is it hands down, a nice kind of jet airplane, squeezing those upper arms in? Are you in what I think of as a big hug emoji pose? And you might be reaching up. Enjoy another long inhale. See if you can get that lower lobe and belly movement. Exhaling, Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Deepen, find your edge, and we'll hold for about 3 breaths, concentrating on a nice long and easy spine and fullness of breath. And you might imagine that you're wearing socks and that it's a little slippery or on a marble floor, so you're not only rooting down, engaging in. On your next inhale, straighten that front leg, root and rise up through that right arm. Hold. Check that that front leg is not hyperextended. You're really strong. And we're going to breathe here, just sort of sweep the sky. You might be looking down if your neck prefers it. Again, on the exhale, you might be able to reach a little further back. Make sure the ribs are going forward. And slowly forward, lateral stretch. Bend that front knee and almost present a platter forward before bringing your elbow to your thigh. Maybe you bring your hand to the floor or a block. Either way, get that left shoulder stacked back over the right one. And then send the arm out beyond the head towards the wall in front of you. Notice what you're feeling. And again, can you breathe deeply here? Each of our postures in yoga allows us to experience breath differently, right? Because literally our breath container changes shape. One more long inhale. And then if you would just do a nice big circle, exhale that arm and plant the hands. Step back, downward facing dog. Steady your gaze between the feet. Inhale, exhale, sigh. Opportunity for pumping, up dog, down dog. So again, you might inhale forward like you would to come into upward dog, but just lower the knees. That's a nice knee down version. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Twice more. And if this is too much on wrist today, remember you could just do some nice forearm plank with us or a little more Cobra pumping. Last one. Active thighs, really pressing towards the ceiling. And release. Good. Slowly walk the hands back to the feet. I say slowly because I want you to have time to really push through each time and get that shoulder stretch. And let the head hang. Inhaling, root and rise. Is there more? Exhaling, prayer hands. Deep abdominal breath. Step sideways on the mat again, 5-pointed star. Rotate those palms open. See if you can widen your stance without it bothering ankles, for example. And look out over your right hand. Deep breath. Look out over your left hand. Sometimes we get to learn things about our neck when we do this. Nice. And facing center, opportunity to look upward if it doesn't bother your neck. As we inhale and bring both arms up, you might send the glutes a little forward. Reaching, pressing through those middle fingers. They don't have to touch, of course. And then exhaling, prayer hands. Third eye and heart space. All right, we're going to step to the front of the mat again. If you want a little adventure, you can turn your right foot towards the front of the mat again, or whichever one's facing, and try and step in one motion. Always an option. And pause. Observe your breath. Your active rooting and reaching. Peaceful neck. Inhale, sweep up. Exhaling, prayer hands, right knee lifts, standing crane. Soft tongue. Full breath. On your exhale, stepping back, crescent lunge. Steer those hip bones. You should feel like you're kind of scissoring your thighs. And explore what is the right distance between your feet for you today, and then find your preferred arm position. You might even enjoy a movement like slicing the arms through space. Observing the rising and settling of breath. This is our spiritual warrior practice, Virabhadrasana. So it's so much about being rooted and powerful, but also peaceful, right? That this is sustainable, and I can have a soft, open heart, a soft tongue and gaze. Enjoy one more long inhale, and you might choose to send your gaze and ribs up. Exhale, opening Virabhadrasana 2. Pause to find your stance, then imagine that marble floor. Root and stabilize and breathe. On a long inhale, reaching up, straighten that front leg. You might decide to counter reach downward through the right arm. That creates a lot of nice back and tricep effort. And again, sending the ribs forward as you choose to inhale and try and reach back a little bit. Exhale, see if there's more room to sweep back. The inhale will probably take up space. It should. And then inhaling, flow forward, present that platter, and then place that elbow. Stack the shoulders. Remember, thighs are externally rotating, so you should feel super strong, that line of energy from your back foot through your crown before you even add the arm. And if you're not sure if your head and shoulder are in alignment, just sort of play. You know, if you come a little forward and then you draw back, often you'll feel that point of being really aligned. It's also where you'll get your best stretch. Breathing. And then as you're ready and on an exhale, you're going to just circle that arm a couple of times and then plant the hands and step back downward facing dog. Inhale, exhale, sigh. Invitation for full dog series. Now, if you prefer just the pumping, so you're not doing Chaturanga, which for some people is awkward, then you could work there. Otherwise, inhale to your plank. Remember, you might drop to knees, relax the feet. Exhale, Chaturanga. Elbows are in. If you only go 1 inch, that's a better Chaturanga than your elbows flying out and your shoulders shrugging. Inhaling Cobra or upward facing dog. Nice peaceful neck. Exhaling, downward facing dog. We're going to come into Pigeon. Some of us love sending our leg flying first. That can be such a great stretch for the floor leg. Can feel fun too. And then bring that right knee behind your right wrist. Now you can also do reclined pigeon, right? Where you would cross your right ankle onto your left thigh and bring the whole deal towards your chest and kind of rotate a little left to get into that right butt cheek. Otherwise, right here, we're going to come on down. You might stack fists. You might bring the forehead all the way to the floor or the hands. But we definitely want to be able to relax, particularly that area where the neck and skull join. I think of those as the I've gotta muscles, right? They engage when we're like, I gotta get something done. So we want them to relax here while we're also trying to soften the whole hip girdle and thinking about those muscles that are kind of intense. Send some breath in there. Again, if your belly isn't moving, you are missing out on that breath in the lower lobes of the lungs, and we need that for our health and well-being. Couple more. If you're needing to intensify the stretch, take the back foot and kind of pull a little further back. As long as you don't feel any joint pain, knees, etc., then that's a welcome intensification. Then as you come up to what we call waking pigeon, you're on your hands and that heart is open and forward. Keep those elbows bent a little bit, and if you'd like, join me in a little kind of organic spinal twisting. I find this is such a great place to rotate your chest a little right and left. You can also kind of lower the shoulders. So if I rotate right and then I lower my left shoulder down, it really creates some nice additional stretch in that right hip. And as you are ready to come out, you might come to table pose by just coming forward with the left knee and releasing that right leg, give it a kick. You could also go to dog. And then coming into downward facing dog again. We're going to take that left leg flying if you're doing that add-on. Otherwise, you're just going to slowly bring the knee forward. The key here is the core support the whole way. It's like you're in cat back. Because we never know how that knee is going to feel about this until it gets there. We want to be in our core, safe and stable. And you can kind of rock your hips a little side to side, settle the forehead, relax the neck, and deepen your breath. You'll even get a better stretch here if you use that same breath of pressing down into the pelvic bowl. And you can use the back foot to deepen if you're needing that extra edge. Is this side different? What do you notice? And as you're ready, coming up to your waking pigeon. And if you'd like, adding that same little spinal twist. And releasing. Coming into, again, table or on that right knee to let that left leg get some release here. If I said right, I meant left, by the way. We're going to come to our bellies for pre-bow bow. So as you're ready, come on down. Reaching back for one ankle at a time, and you're already squeezing your glutes. That's what's keeping your low back safe in this practice. Shoulder heads anchored. Squeezing the thighs towards each other so that the knees are straight back from the hips. And breathing. Now this is a challenging position for breath, so we've got to be willful about it, intentional. As you're ready to create bow pose, inhaling, press the ankles back into the hands. Is there more? Exhaling, you might soften a little bit or even all the way back down. Again, and our breath is going to be faster here. There's no way to do a really slow breath, right? Because our abdomen is being pressed in by the mat. See if you can direct even more breath up into your side lungs, into the ribs here. That's the interesting thing I said about poses, that each one tells us where we can breathe. And release. Press back to your child's pose or alternate resting. Take those knees wide. Deep, deep breath. And here my hope is you can really feel it accentuated, not just in the belly and the chest, but also into the back body. It's like a massage up through the ribs and the shoulder blades. Let's walk those hands a little over to the right and feel the stretch in the side. And then over to the left. You also want to lift your head up and shoulders as you're doing that so that you don't put your shoulder at risk. And as you're ready, come on back. Curl those toes under. Bring the feet to the outside. We're coming into a little bear pose. So it's like downward dog, but with the feet wide. You can even take the hands wider if you'd like. And bend those knees deeply. Good. Really sink in to this pose. Yeah. Such a great antidote to the shape that we tend to live much of our life in, right? Seated, standing, and so on. And then as you're ready, we're going to add a little effort to this. Now, if you already have shoulders that are a little sensitive, you might not want to do this, but otherwise, come a little forward and see if you can lift up first one hand and then the other. Make it organic and fun. You can just feel that you're a great animal prowling through the woods. Maybe you're a bear coming out of its den for the first time this spring. Lovely. And then slowly walk the hands back to the feet. Stay nice and bent through the knees. So you're in kind of a squat and a forward fold here. Breath. Inhale. Come all the way up. Big glute squeeze at the top. And exhaling, prayer hands. We're going to step sideways on our mat again. And we're going to be doing kind of I don't know, you could think of it again as a sort of an animal movement if you want, but it's instead of being in a held pose as we are in our warriors, I'm going to be inviting you to lift one foot at a time. And you're just kind of bringing it up off the mat, like going on a bear hunt, however you want to think of it. But this is a really valuable position because, again, our body doesn't get to do this. Our muscles don't usually get to fire at these angles. And if you want to kind of make it higher, you can. And then you can add the arms in if you want. Right? And this doesn't have to be extreme in order to feel good, right? You don't have to go really high. But notice your heart rate starts to go up, right? That's a good thing, right? We're not in an emergency. We're doing this for fun. So I want you to see if you can keep your breath slow, deep, and wide while you're doing this. It'll get faster, but make sure it's still really deep. You might even be able to get kind of a count going. So breathing in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Just do a few more. You can do it. And when you are ready to do so, start Just slowing it down, bringing the feet in. Find your hands in prayer. Pause, listen inward to your heart. Deep belly breath. Nice work. Thank you for joining me in that adventure. We're going to come into warrior flow one more time. And we're just going to do a couple of breaths in each pose. And so the challenge that I offer you, now that our heart rate is up, is to keep that breath as slow and deep as you can. Keep your brooding and your peace all at the same time. All right, planting those feet. Inhaling, is there more? Exhaling, is there more? We really want to find the pause. There'll be less of a pause when our heart rate is sped up like this, but it's still there. On an inhale, sweep up. Exhaling, standing crane, left knee lifts. Long inhale, exhaling, step back, crescent lunge. Finding your version. Might even be yoga mudra. Can you go deeper? This is our last breath. Long inhale, sweep up. Exhale, Virabhadrasana 2. Find your foundation and breathe. Inhaling, straighten that front leg, reach up, exalted warrior. Exhaling, flow forward, lateral stretch. Whatever version you like. You might be hungry for a partial bind, for example. One more long inhale, and then exhaling. Big circles with that arm, and then planting and transition. Downward facing dog. You might sigh. I just notice it's a beautiful way to settle myself in these poses. Invitation for dog series. Inhaling to your plank. Again, you might do knees down. Exhaling, Chaturanga. Inhaling either Cobra or upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. And you can find your place at the front of the mat again by walking the hands back like we've done before. Or you can also lunge or even hop forward. And find your mountain stance. Check that those toes are straight forward and spread. Inhale, sweep up. Exhaling, standing crane, right knee lifts. Big belly breath. And step back. Again, finding your version. Arms might be slicing, jet airplane. Wherever we are, we're relaxed in the neck, the tongue, the gaze. One more long inhale. See here if you can deepen your stance. And then exhale, Virabhadrasana 2. Again, you might move your head to look forward and back, checking that the spine is absolutely upright. We're not reaching forward. We are in this moment, this body, this breath. Inhaling, exalted warrior, reach up. Exhaling, lateral stretch. Does it feel different the second time that you're in these poses today? Do you feel your body warming and loosening and awakening? One more long inhale and then exhaling, rotate that right arm and chest and downward facing dog. Inhale, exhale, maybe with a sigh. And you might want to come into a resting pose. Give yourself a pause in child's pose, for example. I'm going to offer one more round of pigeon with a little add-on. And you could also just do the reclined pigeon that I recommended before, or the classic pigeon that we just did. This add-on is really neat for how it wakes up our legs and our whole pelvic girdle, and it really tends to create more stability in our back, which I feel is such a big part of being healthy and happy in these bodies. So first, come on down and just kind of feel the stretch in your pigeon. Make sure the knee's happy, and then when you're ready, you'll be on your hands, and then you curl your back foot under and powerfully press the thigh to the sky. Okay, so check that out a couple times. Kind of bend and then engage. Yeah, and for some of us, this alone is an amazing stretch for that deep psoas muscle, so you might enjoy that and send breath down in there. But the add-on I'm going to offer you is pretty amazing. It requires a lot, and what's cool is even if you don't get your hands off the floor, which is where we're headed, the effort alone is really wonderful. So you're going to just slowly walk your hands back towards you, and then when you're ready, see if you can release them into jet airplane arms. Feel a line of energy from that back heel through to your heart. When you're ready to release, slowly support, and we'll come on out. Again, you might go to a table or to dog and give that right leg some loving up. All right, other side, left knee behind left wrist. And it does need to be out by the wrist. If it's at the center of the mat, this is not going to work. And come on down first, check everything here. All right, and then coming up onto your hands. Again, shoulder heads are anchored. The neck is peaceful. It is not doing the job here. It almost never should be doing the job. Then curl that back foot under and press the leg to the sky. Now, it's really important in order to have the full strength of that back leg in the inner thigh, you've got to be kind of on the ball of the foot. If you're out on like the pinky, you're missing that inner thigh strength that we've talked about being so key for plank and other poses. When you're ready, kind of tractioning, imagining you're kind of trying to shorten the yoga mat, that'll give you more base, and then see if you can release your hands. I could not on this side for a very long time, so I would just kind of stay and lift them a little bit and kind of release them. It's a great chance to notice the difference between the two sides of the body too. And then, when you're ready, release out. And you might give it a shake. All right, I'm going to pop us back onto our back body into bridge. And we're going to add leg extensions. As you know, one of my favorite ways to make sure we really are stable and strong at our center body, which I like to say is like the hub of the wheel. If it's not there, it messes up everything. As you're ready, a long belly breath. Exhaling, press up. Place those hands on the hip bones for kind of a measuring tool. And ever so slowly, one leg at a time, extending the heel towards the wall in front of you. If you go to do that and you notice it hurts or your hip like drops a lot, then you'd want to just do a foot hover. On days that that's too much, you just shift your weight back and forth. Softness in the tongue. Try not to use the neck. I know some people think that having the hands straight up kind of helps you use the neck less, so you could check that out as well. And if it's bothering your back at all, remember too, you can come down a little. You don't have to be in like your highest bridge. You really just want a kind of nice straight line, not a big curve. When you feel satisfied and you can feel things woken up there, come on down, knees to belly. We're going to come into spinal twist. And My favorite version, I think, to date still is just good old embryo pose, knees to one side. But if you prefer, you might come into a single knee down twist. So you'd have one leg extended, the other knee crossing over. Either way, I encourage you to first play with that back arm, exploring the shoulder, and then as you're ready, have it kind of more straight back and explore what the breath does to your twist, how it impacts the body. My hope is that you'll get really big inhales that kind of lift the back arm and shoulder, and then on the exhale you can feel the ability to sink towards the earth again. Enjoy a few of these. Celebrate your spaciousness. And you also might enjoy briefly straightening that top leg, right? Any little add-ons. And never let me rush you. When you're ready, you'll come into your stretch on the other side. Asking of each inhale, is there more? Where does it go in this shape? How does it massage you? Can you find the pause between the turns of the breath? Again, any little add-ons that you like. And when you feel complete, coming on back to center. I'm going to bring us into abdominal pumping. And if you feel like you've ever got kind of lower back sensitivity, having your knees bent is helpful. Otherwise, just laying in corpse pose. Gathering a long inhale. Exhaling, empty. Hold the breath out. Do not breathe. And with the breath held out, draw the belly in, like you're saying, see how skinny I am? And press it out. Here again, you can use your hands as a reminder to the body of which direction you're wanting to go. In, out, in, out. If you have been a chest breather historically, it can take time to train these muscles to allow breath. When that cycle's complete, take a regular breath and notice the effects of your abdominal pumping. Good, let's do that again. And on the second round, you might want to speed or slow the pumping. So I'll talk you through one of my favorite versions. Inhale, exhale, empty, hold out, and then draw in and pause, and then draw in a little bit more. Then press out. Draw in, and press out. And I just often find that creates a deeper stretch somewhere, maybe up into the throat. Sometimes I can feel it along the spine. It's wonderful for stretching the breath cavity. Now when that last one's complete, just enjoy some neutral breaths and let yourself get heavy and relaxed. We're not quite at Shavasana yet. Don't get excited. Almost there. I want to bring us into our Dearga Pranayama, or 3-part breath practice. And if you're familiar with this and you would like to right away go into the full movement, all 3 stages of breath, feel free to do that. Otherwise, I'm just going to take us briefly through each stage. And one of the benefits to this is it helps us notice if there is a part of us that's not igniting that should when we're breathing, which part is it? And then we can work to wake that up. Again, you can use your hands as a reference. So I'm going to take my hands to the very low belly. I've got my hands right between the hip bones and right at the top of the pubic bone. Inhaling. Exhaling, empty, like we did during compression exhale at the beginning of our practice. Empty, empty, empty. And then on the inhale, try to mostly move the area under your hands. Try that again, one more time. exhaling, really draw these muscles down, engage, engage, and then inhaling, press into the hands. You'll feel the breath happen elsewhere also, but that's just your focal point, okay? As you're ready for the second stage, this is, I have to say, I think my favorite one. It's our diaphragmatic breath. And you can have your hands in two different positions. One is out on the ribs themselves, right out to the side, if this is okay on your wrists. Otherwise, at the front of the ribs, and you would want your fingertips kind of right below the xiphoid process, right where those ribs come up together. Okay, so you don't want it low. You really need it right up tight, kind of under the breast area, okay? So as you're ready, inhaling. When you exhale, think about emptying, but particularly talk to these ribs. Tell them to engage down and squeeze in. On your inhale, invite breath in that area under your hands. See if you can get your ribs to flare out like gills of a fish. Continue, a couple more. And then we'll go to our last stage, the clavicle breath. So you'll have your hands up high on the chest, the fingertips kind of right at the soft base of the throat here. And on the exhale, again, when you compress out, you might use your hands to kind of encourage kind of a compression of your upper rib cage. Imagine there's sort of an elephant sitting on your chest, not for long. And then on your inhale, see if you can invite your hands to move. I'll warn you that this stage is going to have the least dramatic physical movement, and the majority of it will come at the very end of the inhale. So just keep asking, is there more? Is there more? It's interesting, you know, people who tend to do chest breathing, that kind of fight or flight breath, they don't actually even get the breath into where we're trying to right now, because this area is often so clamped down and muscularly tight. So this three-part breath that we're going to bring together now offers an opportunity to bring breath into that lower lobe and way up higher, both of which help us relax. So very powerful. Feel free to keep your hands on the body for awareness, or just relax them as you try to string this together. It goes a little faster than you'd think. Gather a regular old inhale. Exhale, empty. And invite breath into the lower, the diaphragmatic, and the upper. It's easier done laying down. So you need to move through each stage fairly quickly, as you may have already noticed. Continue. Let's do just a few more. Emptying, emptying, filling, filling, asking, is there more? And when you've let your last breath go, just pause, observe. What did that feel like to you? Sometimes if this is really new to us and we're struggling, we're striving to wake up our whole breath area, we might tighten our neck or do other things as we're kind of focusing. So you might roll your head side to side, invite it to let go. But the more you practice this, absolutely, the easier it'll become and more natural. And it'll be fun to see the effects. Inviting you, before we come into our corpse pose and shavasana, to support yourself with the block under the sacrum, or if you prefer, under the bra strap. We often do one or the other or both. I started adding those to almost every practice years ago because I found that pretty much all of us modern humans are too bent forward, and that these two positions, again, under the sacral triangle, under the butt for the block, or under the bra strap, or you can use a rolled up throw, but that these two are just beautiful at helping us unwind that tight front body. And so again, if what you're looking is to gain better breath capacity, we need the front body open and fluid. If you're with the block under your pelvis and you breathe deeply, you might feel the stretch way down in the psoas muscles here. You might also feel it in the chest and so on. If you've got the support of the block under the ribs, you might add like reaching one arm up at a time and feel some of that extra breath stretch as well. Deep, slow breaths, massaging from the inside this amazing container that you're in. Make sure you do both arms if you are reaching them overhead, and then as you're ready, come off your object of support, roll a little to one side so you don't strain your neck, and then come into your resting shape. You might come into corpse pose just there on your back, roll to your side for embryo, or come into a seated meditation position like I am. Either way, I'm going to ask you now, with your eyes closed, once again, turning up and in towards that third eye point. We think of this as a place of insight, intuition, and it's a wonderful place, as I said before, to focus because it helps the brain come into more introversion. So we're done now with any shapes or poses, so you can let go of your attention. Any attention that was directed outwards towards my voice. Turn inward now towards your breath and let your breath become just soft and passive like a baby sleeping. With each exhale, feeling your body grow deeply heavy with gravity, sinking down and down and down. Is there any part of you that can soften, grow heavy? Your head, your shoulders, arms, your torso, particularly talking to that abdominal area that we woke up. Let it grow soft and sinking towards the earth. The hips, the thighs, the calves, the feet. Witness the gentle rise and fall of your breath. And from this very introverted place, I ask you to briefly scan your practice. Let your mind move through like you're watching a little bit of a movie. And see if you can identify any places that felt like really poignantly right for you. Like, oh, I need this, or oh yeah, this feels good. Or, ooh, some part of me is being awoken or released by this pose or this breath. And also from this deep reflective place, inviting you to consider, as I was talking about our early entry into spring right now, there's still plenty of cool days, at least where I live, and the daylight hours are expanding, but there's still plenty of hours of nighttime to get good, solid sleep. Are there any things that you need to attend to? Decluttering in your house, your external space, decluttering internally. Is there anything that you can give your attention to before the energy of summer calls out and says, come, get out here into the garden, come connect with others? If you've found a deep and restive space, feel free to continue there. I'm going to close our practice, and singing bowl vibration will kind of surround you. If you want to add it or add to it your ohms, please feel free to do that. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Peace Peace. Namaste. I hope you find deeper breath in the coming days as a result of this practice, that you catch yourself when you're breathing shallowly or you're not breathing into the belly, and really have fun renovating your body from the inside out with your new attention on breath. Thanks again for being here. So grateful.